Hello? Your Health is Calling, where holistic health meets practical solutions for your well-being. With your host, speaker, New York Times bestselling author, Sue Kostyk, a seasoned holistic health practitioner and longevity coach. Join Sue each week to embark on a journey to uncover the root causes of your health concerns. Through a personalized approach, learn how to decode the messages your body is sending and craft natural protocols to address them. Call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A.
Good morning. Welcome to Hello, Your Health is Calling. And it is October 31st. It is Halloween. And we have been talking all month about our immune system and how we can keep those strong through cold and flu season, which we have renamed to inflammation season. My name is Sue Kostyk. I am an integrative health practitioner, and what we do is we get to the root cause of what is going on in your body. Why are you experiencing the symptoms that you are? And actually working with you through functional lab testing and natural protocols to get your body rebalanced so we're eliminating the inflammation that is actually causing these issues for you. So like I said, we have been talking about our immune system and how can we, get through these next 3 or 4 months, and we are in a cesspool of germs. We are surrounded by all those yummy foods and alcohol, actually starting today with Halloween. So not that I am telling you to restrict yourself completely, but what my goal over this month has been is just to educate you on what's happening in your body when you do put these excessive amounts of sugar, preservatives, maybe not so good food choices. That's leading to the inflammation, that's weakening your immune system, and so you get sick. So we've gone through all of the food stuff, so I'm not going to beat that dead horse anymore. And I mean, I might. I might mention it. But today, what I want to talk about, which is a really super important topic that goes hand in hand with our immune system, is our stress level. And how does our stress level impact our overall health? And I think that stress is one of those things that we don't give a lot of consideration to because we live in constant stress. It's all around us, especially right now in our world. Everything seems to be on fire. It's a dumpster fire, basically. And so, how is all that stress, and how are we manifesting that stress to create issues with our immune system? So, one of the things that I talk about a lot is our cortisol levels. And cortisol is the hormone that your body secretes when you're under stress. It actually is the hormone that helps you survive through stress. Primitive man, they would be under attack, or they would, be fighting off bears or wild animals. And so the stress hormone would be released, you know, to flood the system with, adrenaline and stuff so that you can run away, so that you can fight or flight. And what's happened is, primitive man, they would be in that situation, and then the threat would go away. And so then they could move on out of that stressful situation. What we're doing right now in our society is we are sitting in stress, and we're not taking that break. We're not allowing our bodies to rest from the stress. And it's causing just a flood of cortisol, which, you think, okay, I need it. But then what happens when you are sitting in that cortisol for too long and your body no longer can recognize whether you are in fight or flight or you're trying to rest again? So let's talk about what happens. And I also want to mention that if you want to go back and watch any of these podcasts, I mean, there's over 25 by now. But the month of October was all about the immune system. So you can go back on YouTube at the Reinvented Life network, and all of these live there. Or you can send an email to support@helloyourhealthiscalling.com, and we'll make sure you get to where you need to go. So there's something when you are sitting in cortisol for too long, when you're sitting in that stress response too long, and your nervous system is just always so heightened, what happens to the rest of your hormones? What happens, because I always use the term we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, because that's exactly what your body's doing. It's trying to just live. And so all of a sudden, there's something that's called the cortisol steal. And it's exactly that. When you start to sit in stress too long, your body needs to steal elsewhere to continue to create that hormone cortisol. And so what is it doing? Your body is stressed, and it's a shift into that available hormone, whatever hormones are available. It's a shift to rob from that hormone production to make more cortisol. Cortisol keeps us alive. I mean, it's from an evolutionary perspective, that's probably the most important hormone we have. And so, it's one of those things that our body will decide that it doesn't need to reproduce, or it doesn't need to digest. So it's going to start stealing from that production. So when you start to experience hormone imbalance, you start to experience digestive issues, it is mainly because your body has decided that it doesn't need to produce those hormones. It needs more cortisol. Your body has one thing to do and one thing only, and that is to survive. So when you have this super huge amount of adrenaline and cortisol in your bloodstream, the hormones that it affects the most are going to be your DHEA, and it's going to be your testosterone, and it's going to be your progesterone. And, the DHEA and the testosterone, they work with your parasympathetic nervous system. So I don't want to get too sciencey and lose some people, but your nervous system is divided in two. You have your sympathetic, which is your fight or flight, and you have your parasympathetic, which is your rest and relax. So your DHEA and your testosterone, they work together with that rest and relax to rejuvenate your body. So, and it only really works when you're calm and at rest. So if you're never calming your nervous system and managing your stress, that's when your body says, okay, I don't have the DHEA and the testosterone because I've created too much cortisol. So I'm not going to help my body rest and relax. It's such a vicious circle what happens. And then, when you do start to calm your nervous system, that's when you're going to notice that your hormones are balancing again. One of the biggest things, especially in women, that we find is thyroid dysfunction. And thyroid dysfunction or thyroid function weakens from stress. The stress hormone, the cortisol, it causes your thyroid to get blocked or stuck in one position. So if you get your blood work done and you see on your thyroid panel that you have T2, T3, T4, and then it's got, whatever is available and that kind of thing. So to keep it really basic, what happens for people who start to have thyroid dysfunction or go into Hashimoto's or any of those thyroid diseases, your thyroid function is getting stuck in your T4 position. And what happens is, and you need the T3 to be converted into a usable one. And so what happens is it gets stuck. The T3 hormone gets converted into an unusable version. It's reverse T3. So, again, if you are interested in learning more about this, please email me. You can go to my website. It's healthandwellness.com. Um, it's like the body really isn't messing up. It's just purposely slowing your thyroid in the times of stress. And because, primal man, they needed all this stuff to slow down so they could escape from danger, or so that they could, like, there were times where food was not plentiful. And so the thyroid would slow down to conserve energy, to conserve calories. They would purposely put on weight so that their bodies could function, and they would go into some kind of protective hibernation when there wasn't a lot of food around. Um, and so, thousands of years ago, that really helped people to survive. But what's happening now is because we're staying in this part of stress, we're almost carrying it as a badge of honor. It almost seems like the more stressed out you are, it's like, oh, I'm so brave, I'm so courageous, I've got all this stress. But what it's really doing it's really, the thyroid is probably the first thing to go, because it automatically puts you into this lowering of that hormone. So how do you know? If you are experiencing some of these symptoms of low thyroid, high thyroid, digestive issues, we can actually test your hormone functions at a very high functional level. And when I say functional level, it's, conventional lab testing. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but sometimes things aren't captured on a conventional lab test. So a functional lab test is a little bit different. We're going to test your hormone function throughout the day. We're not just going to take one blood test and go from there. We're going to test it out throughout the day. It shows how your adrenal health is doing. It shows how your endocrine system is holding up, and it shows where you're at with all of your sex hormones and your cortisol. It will show us 4 times a day where your cortisol is. So, sometimes people have a hard time sleeping, and it's because they haven't been able to turn off their stress cortisol levels. And it's just one of those things that if we can test for it, we can also test for how your electrolytes are holding up throughout stress. And you need your electrolytes. You need the sodium, the calcium, the magnesium, and those are the things that work in pairs and in balance. And so we can also test through a hair sample of how these electrolytes are showing up and what the patterns are, and help to rebalance that, so that we're never going to get away from stress. That there's just no way. So, but if we can support our bodies through it, this one test is super helpful, because it tells us what you're deficient in those electrolytes that help you through the stress process. So it's another thing to just help find out how your nervous system is handling the stress that you're under. And lowering stress helps you to get in more of a relaxed situation. So that's primarily what the goal is in stress management, is to get you back into that rest and relax. And I know, I have clients that they're like, oh, I'm a young mother, I have 3 kids, I have a job, I have to, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of have tos. And I get it. I have a daughter with 2 small children, and I'm actually there staying with her right now. So I know how stressful it is. But there are things you can do. You can learn to control it. Sometimes people walk in this attitude of perfectionism, and that's very detrimental, because it's impossible. It's really truly impossible. You just have to do the best you can. So if you can control that perfectionist part, and just learn to understand that, there's a great book. It's called The Joy of Missing Out. And I believe the author is Tanya Dalton, but if you can actually look for it on Amazon, but it's The Joy of Missing Out. And it's a great book that kind of talks about the perfectionism, the fear of missing out, and how that really works against you. So, um, really learning to control that perfectionist in us, that type A, learn to relax. I talk about exercise a lot, and I don't necessarily mean that you got to go to the gym for an hour every day. You can literally 10 to 20 minutes a day get some movement in, get some exercise. It is verified that exercise reduces depression, anxiety, panic attacks, mood disorders. Even like I said, just 10 to 20 minutes a day, it makes a huge difference in reducing that stress. And I want to talk about it too from a internal perspective, because you may think, oh, I've only walked. All I was able to do was get in a 10-minute walk. But internally, your body is really thanking you for that. There's so much that can be managed internally, even though in your brain you're thinking, oh, this isn't doing anything. But even if you have a 10-minute walk in the morning, a 10-minute walk after dinner, you're really doing yourself such a service in reducing that stress. A lot of people take to martial arts, and you can do martial arts or you can do the soft martial arts, either one. It's just movement. It's literally the movement in martial arts is very centering. And if you notice, before they do major movements or get into thing, they do center themselves. And so, taking on something like that, and, if you are under a huge amount of stress, I would recommend the soft arts versus martial arts. Um, and then, of course, walking. I talked about that before, walking outside, even if you live in the city, walking outside in fresh air, swinging your arms, that actually will immediately shift from sympathetic over to parasympathetic. It's a very simple thing. One other thing, I was reading a book. It's called The Rain Barrel Effect, and it's by Dr. Stephen Cabral, who I studied under for my certifications in integrative health. And he says he recommends laughter. Laughter is one of those things that has been studied so much, and it literally rebalances your nervous system. Literally, it rebalances your hormones, your immune system. It's one of those things, and after a great belly laugh, you feel so good. You feel lighter. It's, singing is another thing. Singing is one of those things that is scientifically proven to improve your nervous system, to improve mood disorders. And we don't really care if you have a good voice or not. It doesn't matter. It's changing tones, it's the feeling, the brain, it's the serotonin that is released through singing. It makes you feel good. You can work on meditation. You can, if it's prayer, if it's meditating, if it's just closing your eyes in a quiet room for 5 minutes. Meditation is one of those things that quiets your brain. And, if you're like me and your brain never stops, this is the one thing that takes practice. It literally took me a long time to be able to sit quietly for 5 minutes without just closing my eyes in a dark room, deep breathing. You could put on some soft music if that helps. Um, you know, the your brain waves, you've got, your different alpha, beta, gamma, theta brain waves. And one of the things that meditation does is it reprograms those brain waves. And I believe, and I'm not like an expert on this, but I believe it's the beta that are kind of the high and the theta that are the lower. So you want to move from the beta to the theta. And it just lowering those brain waves allows your body to heal. And the theta brainwaves are what you get in your deep sleep, which is, or actually, I think it's in your REM sleep, that is very healing. And so, if you can just quiet your mind enough to move into that low theta, then that's very healing as well. And I know people are going to say, I don't have time, but I do. I guarantee you, you will find time. If you start to implement some of these things, then the time comes because it becomes a priority and it becomes very important to you. And one of the things I want to mention too is people who have like insulin or blood sugar issues. Meditation helps to rebalance the hormone part. And it's very studied. There's lots of studies. You can go on PubMed and you can find a bunch of them. If you want to email me, I can send you some at support@hello your health is calling. But all of this stuff is scientifically verified. None of this stuff is just, oh, this sounds good. Let me just pull it out of my hat. I talk about the de-stress protocol. I did a whole, gosh, I would say 2 months on the de-stress protocol. And working through that to help get your body more balanced, to work through your diet, to work through exercise, stress management, toxin removal, prioritizing rest, managing your emotions, going through those 9 toxic emotions and figuring out, what you need to work on. Supplementation, because we all need supplementation. We're all different. We don't all need the same. So don't go buy your multivitamin at, Target or CVS. Get your vitamin levels tested, and we can do that. We can see exactly what you're deficient in, because supplementation is one of those things that we literally cannot get it through our food, through our water, anything. So, and then success mindset, your mind controls so much. It is literally mind over matter. And being able to slow your mind down, to start to think, like change your mind. I had a boot camp instructor one time that every time there was this one exercise, she would have us do inchworms across the gym floor and everyone hated it. And she would always say, change your mind. Because we would moan and groan throughout the whole thing. And she's like, change your mind. Stop being negative about it, and the exercise will become easier, or you will do it quicker. Your mind controls so much. Don't be afraid of trying new things. If some of these things have sparked some interest, implement them. Just try them and see if you can't integrate something into your day. Not all of them, don't overwhelm yourself, but try to start integrating some of these things. Work on diet and movement. Just those 2 things. There's, out of the 7. Or work on, cleaning up the toxic environment in your home. Start looking at labels on your cleaning products or maybe your beauty products or your shampoos and soaps. Just do one thing at a time. I do have a journal on my website that you can get from Symmetry Health and Wellness, and it helps walk you through some of these things. It's a great tool to have. And, just remember that, your health is not a habit or a hobby. It is a habit. It's not a hobby. It's literally something that we take for granted. We don't think that there's anything wrong until there's something wrong. So if you are in a great position of health, that you think you have a lot of vitality, a lot of energy, you're at a great weight, you eat healthy, then now is the time to keep doing that, and maybe do some lab tests to see what's going on internally. Maybe test your hormones if you're in perimenopause or you feel like there might be some hormone imbalances going on. Take the hair test your minerals and heavy metals. So we want to make sure we're removing heavy metals if you have any. So even though you feel like you're the picture of health, it's always good to get a snapshot. It really is. And if you are experiencing some issues with your health, if you've got some things that you're on, maybe some medications that you might want to start seeing if you can wean off of them, then these functional lab tests are great too to see where we need to start. And I'm telling you, investing in your health now no matter what age you are. If you're even in your 70s and you've got some issues and you'd love to, live another 20 years healthy and moving and enjoying life, this is for you as well. You're never too young, you're never too old. There's countless stories of marathon runners and bodybuilders that start in their 60s and 70s. So I don't take age as an excuse. It's just not. But just, remember, your health is not a hobby. If you are feeling something, don't ignore it. It's like a check engine light. Don't do it. Don't drive around thinking that it's just going to automatically change and turn off. Your body is telling you something. Symptoms are not your body messing up. Symptoms are your body's warning system to tell you that there's something happening and it's needing your attention. So happy Halloween. Go easy on the sugar, especially for your kids. Remember, you got to send them to school tomorrow, and those poor teachers. And, if your health is calling, please answer. And never feel bad about asking questions. I can be reached at support@helloyourhealthiscalling.com. My website is symmetryhealthandwellness.com. All of these videos live on YouTube at the Reinvented Life Network. And if you like and subscribe, then you'll never miss one. So thanks for watching. Next month, I'm not sure what the topic's going to be. We might go through some healthy swaps of some meals. I don't know. We'll see. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Hello, Your Health is Calling with Sue Kostyk. Remember, your health journey is ongoing, and we're here to support you every step of the way. If you have any questions, insights, or stories to share, don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with us on social media or call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A. Together, we're transforming lives and embracing holistic well-being. Until next time, prioritize your health and remember, your health is calling.